These are the questions.
Go on, just do it. Let's just pretend that we can do a normal interview. Go on.
Okay, so I'm just curious about how you found it, or did it find you, or how sort of this...
It kind of found me in the sense that I knew Lynn already. I knew her, she was a friend, and like most people who knew her work, I was waiting for her new film avidly. And I was hoping that one day we might make a piece of work together, but she'd already started developing it by the time she presented it to me. And I'd already read the book even before I met her, so I was already super interested in the material. And I was sort of with her on it. I mean, I think we met about 5 years ago. So it's been, I mean, for me, it's a relatively short time. I mean, if you think of I Am Love, which was a dozen years, this is relatively short space of time. But it's, yeah, funnily enough, like a lot of satisfying pieces of work, it gets more and more interesting to me. Even showing it to audiences, it sort of lays a whole new bomb under it and makes it even more interesting to me.
Yeah, and I mean, it was kind of, I just did Ezra before this, and he's sort of interesting, great man, but he was talking about the laughter. Like, I didn't laugh, but I was noticing around me, and I was like, are they laughing nervously? Because sometimes it wasn't quite funny, but it was like...
It's funny. I think that there's I mean, these are early days. We've still only shown it to, this is the third, I think, American, or no, not American, but I say American, North American audience, because this feels like there are a lot of kind of people from the United States in that audience last night. It's the first, the other audiences that I've seen it with have been in Cannes and I feel like something else, somewhere else, in Paris maybe? Anyway, in Europe. But seeing it with English-speaking audiences for a start, and seeing it in North America, it's a real jump start for us, because we're going, right, okay, what are people going to do with this? And what I feel about the laughter is that people are they're like searching every frame for something to lessen the load, and every frame goes past, they go, nothing funny there, I can't lessen the load. Next one, nothing. Next one, nothing. And then when something even remotely light-hearted happens, or remotely less heavy than the rest, it's just like a release. So they laugh.
Like when he's punishing you by pooping, people were laughing there, which I was just like, even though it was so horrible.
Well, they just, I think, it's a release. It's like, can we let it out somehow?
Because it's so tense. Like, it really felt like I was watching a horror movie. Like, that's really what it...
That sense.
And it's so... It's cut beautifully, and you hold your attention. You never once, for a second, you're not so deeply involved in it. Anyway, one question. The kids... First of all, I don't know how they cast those three people. That is amazing. Like, they...
Well, we knew when we needed to find our eldest Kevin, and then... according to who he was and how he was, I would morph myself to him. So if we had cast some, round blonde kid, I would have roundified and blondified myself, and then we would have cast these young kids according to him. And the young kids were cast beautifully by Billy Hopkins, who's this genius casting director in New York who cast Precious and things, and he's an extraordinarily intuitive guy, and he found all of our boys, including Ezra, and yeah, they're hardcore. I mean, that middle boy Jasper, really, in a way, he works the Kevin vibe for longer in the period of the film even than Ezra does, and he sets it all up.
Yeah,
it's really extraordinary, that kind of.
And it wouldn't have worked if they weren't so good.
Although, the interesting thing is that you ask, I mean, kids, as you know, you've heard me say this before, probably, kids are so properly playful. They're playful in the way that grown-up actors, certainly, I would encourage to be. And they know that if you say, you say to a 3-year-old, say no, and make that face. It's meat and potatoes to them. They love it, it's not hard. They don't have to sit and worry about the moral implications. They, be tough on your mum is an easy thing for a 3-year-old to do.
Yeah. How did you, like, working with them and, like, with the kids especially, not so much Ezra, but the younger two, like, how did you get that
It's just
sort of
play.
happen?
It's just really easy, so playful and fun. And in fact, there's so much footage. We shot masses of footage with Jasper in the car, for example, which I mean would make an installation of him and I just improvising, and him just being kind of trying to crack me up and managing quite often, but just being your nightmare kid. I mean, all kids know what a mother's nightmare kid would be. You do know that. I mean, you know, we all know the button. Whether we press it or not is another thing, but all kids, even really peaceable kids like Jasper, who's got a really beautiful family and very, very smart parents who are very close with him, he knows how to play the scary kid.
Yeah, and I mean, I also was sort of thinking about Julia and I'm Love, and then the three, because there's parenting is sort of.
I'm calling it the mother load.
Anyway, as a mother yourself, I mean, that must be this. Maybe not. Maybe it was you can remove yourself, but I would find that really hard to take, because it's really dark. I mean,
well, you know, it's true, and I only recently, in talking about it, realised this, and I'm going to repeat it for you. I noticed that when people ask me about, you know, I, as I've said, that it was the conversation with Lynn that drew me into it. But the thing that made me want to look at this portrait of this woman was the experience of having children myself and noticing when I first had them how much I was into them from the very, very beginning. That not only did I have a kind of generic agape love for them, but I also really dug them, and I thought, you're really cool and I'm really going to look forward to getting to know you. But at that moment I remember noticing that I was relieved that it hadn't gone the other way. I thought, that's interesting, what's that? You mean it could have gone the other way? You mean I could have, what is that? And then the thought just vanished, and I didn't think about it again until I read Lionel Shriver's book. And what she does in that book is go, okay, let's look at this scenario. It goes the other way. You have a child, you look at it, it's not there, not happening. In fact, you're revolted. What do we do then? And she drives into the curve in such a nightmare way. And I'm aware that for millions of women and for millions of children of those women, this is a reality. You know, we all know people who either...
I'm going to let you finish what you're doing, and then I'm going to say
lovely.
in.
Okay. Who either have children that they have this kind of disconnect with, or are the children of mothers who have this disconnect. And it is a taboo. People don't really talk about it.
No.
It's a true nightmare, because it is irrevocable, and you can't exactly send him back.
Yeah, and I never stopped empathizing with her. Like, it wasn't it wasn't her fault, and it wasn't really his fault either. Like, it's
no, it's just the luck of the draw, in a way. But it's also, I think, something about it's something, I mean, this is not social commentary, and the book is more social commentary than this film is. This film is very much a sort of an extrapolation, and I keep saying that it's got as much to do with the practical business of bringing up children as Rosemary's Baby is about the practical business of being pregnant. I mean, meaning that every pregnant woman has a fantasy, even for a minute, that she's giving birth to the devil, and every mother, particularly a mother of a son, I would hazard a guess, at least 1 millisecond, has the fantasy that she's harbouring a major, psychopathic killer. But it's not really social commentary, but at the same time, we do know that the numbers, the statistics on postpartum suicide, postpartum, infant murder by mothers is rising all the time, and that there's something in Western society which does tend to attempt to filter out, bleach out and vanillify. Oh, that's such a good new word I just invented.
Excellent.
Vanillify. So much worse than vilify, right?
It's
Vanillify the mortal business of living, basically. That it'll come up and bite your ass. And that's the end of the interview with Peter Knegt.
Sounds like a racy conversation.
My pilgrim.